We are back, everyone. I hope you've had a good weekend, and I hope you are dry, because we are not dry here. It's been raining all day, but has it made me unhappy or gloomy? No, it hasn't, because we are back together once more. English Addict is back, and yes, we are back in the studio as well. It's so good to be back. We are back with you again. Isn't it nice? And yes, we are in the studio. It's been a while since we've actually done anything from in here. We have been doing our live streams from outside, but as I just mentioned, the weather is terrible today. It's a horrible day, to be honest.
I wouldn't like to be outside today, Mr. Duncan, although it's not that cold. But still wouldn't like to be outside with my feet in soggy, wet grass.
No, not very nice.
Mr. Duncan, hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hello from me.
That's Mr. Steve.
It is.
It says on the screen, apparently, and under here it says Mr. Duncan, and I'm assuming that must be me. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I hope you are feeling happy today. We have a new month as well. October has arrived. I have to be honest with you. I know I've said this before, Steve, but I hate September for many reasons. I don't know why. I always find it one of the worst months of the year. That month, and also February as well. I don't know why. I don't like those months.
February, I don't like Well, it's my birthday in February, so I don't mind February, but the weather is normally very bad here in the UK. Already we're talking about the weather because that's all we ever talk about in the UK.
Well, that's
certainly one of the first things you ever talk about when you meet somebody is the weather. If you want to know how to get on with anybody in the UK when you meet them, ask them, how are you? Ooh, isn't the weather bad? Or isn't the weather good? Or something about the weather.
Although I think we
will soon be on side.
I think we do have a good excuse for talking about the weather because it's awful. And yesterday, did you see my live stream yesterday? It was literally a stream because there was so much rain falling. I went over to Shrewsbury yesterday because they were holding the first ever Pride event.
Yes.
And it was a big thing. The only problem was that it was raining all the time, and I did a live stream. Fortunately, the rain eased off as I started my live stream, but everyone had gone. Most people had cleared off. They all went back home because they didn't want to get wet. So I had to stand there like an idiot in the rain, waiting for 2 o'clock to arrive, and then, but fortunately, the rain did ease off, but everyone had gone, so there weren't many people around. However, there was also a procession as well that took place through the town. So this is what happens quite often. Places like Manchester, they have their Pride event.
Brighton
is
a big one. Birmingham. I suppose London must have one as well. I'm not sure.
They certainly do, yes. It's the biggest. About 2 million people descend on London during London Pride, the big Pride event. So yesterday Shrewsbury had theirs. Here is a quick shot. So this is what was happening yesterday as people were going through the streets.
It's wild, Mr. Duncan, wild. Nobody's going into Nationwide Building Society.
No.
To get a new mortgage.
Although many of the shops had their lovely rainbows on the front, and you can see lots of people using their umbrellas, and they were really using them. This was just as the rain was starting. So the march took place. He's in a hurry.
He's got green hair. Yeah. That lad there in the front, or is it a girl? I'm not sure. I've got to be careful these days.
It didn't take very long for Steve to start saying the wrong things.
Well, neither, of course. Okay. Non-binary.
Okay, Steve, that's great. Anyway, let's talk about what's on the screen. So there's people marching. lots of different organisations and groups were there yesterday, and I was there as well. But unfortunately, as I said, because the rain fell, and it did come down quite heavily, sadly, a lot of the people disappeared. They went home. There's some very interesting images that I'm showing you at the moment. I know what you're going to say. I even received a little bit of abuse. Abuse. Someone shouted and swore at me as I was doing my live stream. You can actually hear it. He says a very rude word.
So it's safe to say he was not in favour of the Pride March.
He did not want the Pride March to take place. He said something rather
derogatory. There's a good word to teach you a bit of English. A derogatory term.
Yes.
Derogatory just means it's putting you down. It's abusing you in some way.
To deride something, if you deride or if you speak in a derogatory way, you say something harsh or horrible or nasty to someone. Here's another shot. So this is where the entertainment took place. And you can see there's a lot of people there. However, when the rain started, most of them went. They disappeared.
Look at that awful building on the left. That awful drab 1960s building there.
Yes.
That there's lots of nice old... There we go. There's some nice old... buildings in Shrewsbury because it's an old town. But then you have those ghastly 1960s buildings also, which are presumably the shops.
Yes.
There is controversy, isn't there, or certainly debate on how you pronounce the town of Shrewsbury.
Is there?
Some people, yes.
Who's debating this?
The locals.
Oh, I see.
So you can either say Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury. And I've never worked out which one because it's S-H-E-W. So some people pronounce it Shrewsbury and some people pronounce it Shrewsbury.
Yes.
And apparently I've never worked out which is the correct one because even the people in Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury, depending on which part of the town you come from, they will pronounce it one of those two different ways. And one is, some locals will adamantly say it is Shrewsbury and others will say, no, it's Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
So we don't know which is true. Probably both of them are correct.
But when you think about what's happening in the world at the moment, it doesn't seem that important really, does it, when you think about it? But people do argue over these things, don't they, Steve? The pronunciation of certain words or names. And of course, this week, somebody chopped down a very famous tree. I don't know if you've seen this. The Hadrian Wall, which is an old battlement wall, which used to divide England from Scotland. But along there is a beautiful tree. I think it's a sycamore tree, or it was. I mean, now it's just a sycamore stump. But somebody chopped it down in the middle of the night, and apparently it's appeared in lots and lots of photographs and movies, including, I think it was Robin Hood, way back in 1991. And this particular tree has become very famous. But now it is no more. It has been cut down. It has been felled.
Yes. Some. Have they got the person that did it?
Well, they've detained two people. They've let one of them go. So one was a young boy and the other one an older man. But I don't think any charges have been made at the moment. I still think they're being questioned, or at least one of them is being questioned to find out if he was the guy who was waving his chopper around and slicing down historic trees.
Were people waving choppers around in Shrewsbury yesterday, Mr. Duncan? Waving their choppers around. Euphemism for, I won't say what it is, you can guess. Olga says, are all the people taking part homosexual? We tend to use the word gay these days.
No, you can use the other one.
We can do, but it's not really used.
It's a bit scientific.
It's almost seen as not abusive, but a bit
Well,
you wouldn't say to somebody, "Are you homosexual?" You would say, "Are you gay?"
You can say
you
it.
wouldn't even ask that.
I think it's more about how you say it. Oh, he's a homosexual. Or, are you a homosexual?
Yes,
you see,
we use
sometimes the intonation can make the word seem worse. The BBC, for example, always use that horrible pronunciation. I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah, so that word is probably not used, certainly not in this country.
To answer your question, some of the people there yesterday were.
I should think most of them were, weren't
well,
they,
no.
in the march?
Well, no. Well, that's what I'm just about to say. But of course, there are various groups now that have joined together. So that's why we have. I'm still confused by this, Steve. We have the LGBTQ, and there's a few more as well. So I don't really normally go to those sorts of events, to be honest. But I thought I'd go there.
Yeah.
I thought I'd go there and see what was going on. And it was interesting. It was good fun.
It looked tame compared to when we say if something looks tame, you say it's very sort of insubstantial compared to the big events that I've been to in Birmingham or Brighton. But then it was their first go at it. Well, just to answer Olga's comment, yes. So I would imagine most people in the march would have been gay, and there would have been family members supporting them who were straight. But yeah, it would be a mixture, but I would say mostly.
Yeah. Actually, the word I hate is straight. That's the worst one, because if you say straight, it means that thing is right, and the opposite to that, of course, is bent, which of course nobody uses anymore unless it's used
a derogatory term,
unless it's used in an offensive way. So yes. Even straight to me is not a good word. Anyway,
my sat nav, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
My sat nav. When I've put my sat nav on my car, it keeps telling me to go straight.
Yes.
As a direction down the road. Go straight. Continue to go straight.
Yes.
You know, I've been trying for years. It's never worked.
No.
I mean, you know, a sat-nav is trying to get me to go straight. I mean, you know, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Yes, we get that, Steve. we get it. It's a joke. We don't actually think your sat-nav was doing any conversion
Palmyra
therapy.
says.
Oh, can I just finish my sentence?
Go on, yes.
I'm still talking. What? Steve?
Well, you have finished then. Right, okay. In Lithuania, says Palmyra, when they have pride events, there are riots in the streets. Well, I'm presuming that these are people that are not in favour or do not approve of gay people.
You mean there are people who don't like homosexuals?
Do you have to keep saying that, Mr. Duncan? We've already
there
established
are people.
That's not a
Can
nice
you believe there are
use.
people that don't like that? Why? Why would you not like that?
Well, you know, anyway, we won't go into that. But yeah, you had a good time. I didn't go because I was seeing some friends in Birmingham.
I didn't have a good time, by the way, because I got soaking wet.
Soaking? Did you really get soaking wet?
I
or
did.
Did you just get slightly damp?
No. Well, you weren't there, so just take what I'm saying.
Well, when you came back last night, you told me you got a bit wet.
I got soaked.
Literally soaked.
Yeah, the clothes I was wearing were wet through. So yes, I had to walk around in the rain for a long time. It's strange how Steve is wondering whether or not I'm telling the truth about getting wet, but I did. I got soaking wet. It was throwing it down with rain.
It's Olga, you can use that word. It's not. You don't have to apologise. Because obviously that's the technical term.
Okay.
But yeah, Anyway, we've explained it, but you don't. Yeah.
It's more about the way you say it. You see, it's very strange, and I know I've mentioned this before when we talk about English. Intonation can be very important when you are showing how you feel about something. So you can even say something positive, but it can come across negatively because you want it to. For example, maybe you get some news that you're not happy about, but the other person is happy about it, but you don't feel happy. So you might say, "Oh, great." Now, "oh, great" is a positive sentence, but your intonation has changed the meaning. So it is possible to make something sound bad or maybe show your disagreement by the way you say something. And it's a very subtle thing that happens quite often in English. I'm sure it does in other languages as well.
Yes, Beatrice. Yes, that tree. That was vandalism. Whoever cut that tree down is a vandal, and they should be punished accordingly. I think you should go to prison for life for that sort of thing, because that was an iconic tree.
Yes.
And many people were upset. People were crying
Yes.
by the tree, and they were putting flowers down and all sorts of things.
The irony, by the way, was the fact that people were laying flowers that they chopped. So they were chopping up flowers.
Wow.
They were chopping flowers and then taking them to the tree because they were sad about the tree being chopped down, but they had just chopped some flowers. So there was a little bit of irony there. A sycamore, by the way, sycamore tree. I don't know what type of tree that is, but it is apparently a beautiful tree. But
Sycamore,
now,
a sycamore tree.
but now it is a stump.
It has the seeds that flutter down like that.
Oh yeah, like little helicopters.
Like little helicopters, yes.
Oh, the helicopter tree. See, that's what I know the sycamore as. I don't know it is the sycamore tree. I know it is the helicopter tree. All those little helicopters come flying down.
Yes.
But apparently they're on the case, finding out the person who chopped that tree down. Apparently they've called in special branch.
Oh, Mr. Duncan.
And they are going to get to the root of that crime.
Special branch is, I don't know if it still exists, but
They
is
will
type of
leave
police force.
They will leave no clue unturned. Do you like that?
I bet the person they catch will soil themselves.
What's that got to do with trees?
Their roots are in the soil.
Okay.
And soil is, soil, S-O-I-L.
Yeah. They've already arrested one person, but they let him go. I think they were barking up the wrong tree. Very good. This is the great entertainment you get every Sunday. Now, I could be lying in bed now, dreaming of nice things, but instead I'm here, you see.
Well, let's hope the police get to the root of the problem.
I just said that.
Did you?
I literally made that joke. I'm glad to see that Mr. Steve is concentrating as much on what I'm saying as usual. Very nice.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I suppose we should talk about the thing we are talking about today. So I'm going to tell you now what we're talking about. Today we're looking at something I think we've looked at in the past. Occupations. Now, I don't mean when one country is taken over by another group of people. Not that type of occupation. It's a different one. The thing you do, your job. So today we're looking at jobs, occupations, things that we have to do. We have no choice when you think about it. One of the first lessons you learn in life as you get older, certainly when you are a teenager, you suddenly you realise you want things. You want computers and iPads and the latest roller skates and the hula hoop. Hula hoops are very expensive.
Who's lusting after hula hoops?
They don't grow on trees. But
the teenagers still use hula hoops, Mr. Duncan.
The thing is, and pogo sticks. Pogo sticks, apparently they're coming back. Hula hoops and pogo sticks.
Are they powered by batteries?
They're not. They're powered by the human body. Anyway.
Well, that's not going to catch on.
I digress. I've digressed so much.
You can't remember what you were talking. You were talking about your subject of today, which was occupation. What is your occupation?
Yes, there are many jobs. So the first lesson you learn when you are a teenager is that you need money to buy things, and to get money, quite often your parents will encourage you to get some sort of job. Maybe just a light job, nothing too heavy. Maybe delivering newspapers, or maybe they get you to do odd jobs. I know as a teenager I did lots of odd jobs.
See, no, I bet teenagers don't deliver papers anymore because nobody, or very few people read newspapers anymore. Being a paper boy or a paper girl.
Yes, or a paper transgender, of course.
Yes, a paper person. I don't think that that image of, a young lad on his bike delivering newspapers round the streets, I don't think that exists anymore. It might do in your country, but the printed word newspapers and books for that matter, I think are in decline.
Okay.
I mean, we do get somebody delivering the Wenlock Herald, a sort of a local magazine, but
Anyway.
that's by a middle-aged lady.
This is not really what we're talking about.
Well, occupations, delivering
Yes.
newspapers, is an occupation that has died out, I would suggest.
Okay, but we're talking about the first jobs that you do when you're young. So maybe delivering newspapers, maybe helping someone else do a certain task, maybe delivering milk. So I do remember the milkman used to come to our house, and he'd often have a young lad helping him. And of course, that's quite good. That's quite good. So he was doing a little bit of work and earning some money. But of course, as you get older, you realise that delivering newspapers will not pay very well. So you have to then go into the big world and find a proper job, a real job.
Well, I read a report the other day, Mr. Duncan, that because there are so few of those jobs around, and because teenagers spend a lot of time in their rooms or on their devices, that quite often their first job, particularly if they've been to university or college, their first experience of a working environment is the first job they get when they're in their early 20s. And so they are finding it difficult to cope with a workplace, how people talk to each other and communicate. It's quite a different experience. So because youngsters aren't getting jobs early now, then they haven't really got the experience of what work's about.
Yes,
and they're struggling to cope with it in a lot of cases.
So it's quite unusual now for a younger person, a teenager, to actually take on a job. It's very interesting. We've had one or two messages come through as well. My teenage son earned some money by cleaning the streets. Yes, maybe you can do some work for your neighbour. Maybe you have an elderly neighbour and they can't do their garden anymore. You might go round and do some work in your neighbour's gardens, and they pay you a small amount of money. So yeah, there are many ways when you are young, many ways of making money. Some of them legal and some of them not very legal.
Olga asks, is buy, B-U-Y, the same as buy, B-Y? No. If you buy something, you're going to the shops, you're using money to get something. But buy is, B-Y is the same as is buy, bye-bye, isn't it?
No.
What is it then? Oh, no. Buy, yes, no, it's not. No, that is B-Y-E. Yes, so if you leave the E off and just go B-Y, that is, I am going by the sea.
Yeah.
It's an indication of you're going somewhere, isn't it? Go on, then you explain it. But they're not the same.
BY often refers to something in proximity, two things that are by each other. They are near to each other. Then we have BYE, which is a shortened version of goodbye. Bye. 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 And then we have the one you said, BUY, to purchase something or buy it. Excuse me.
Mr. Duncan has got a tickly throat today. Well, we can hear you, Mr. Duncan's coughing. So, yes. So, what was I going to look at then? Somebody said something about when I was a teenager, says Palmyra, that should be sold ice cream. Sorry to correct you there. SOLD. I sold ice creams. It was fine. Yes. People used to. I mean, I had a job. I used to pick fruit when I was younger. Strawberries in the fields, peas. My sister used to work in the local art shop, And that gives you experience of dealing with people, connecting with people. So if you never do that, then you don't have those skills when you start in the workplace.
It is true. It is true. That's another thing, actually. That's a very good point, Mr. Steve, because we also talk about things that you do when you are younger that give you some sort of experience. And I might talk about this later on, but now we have some words coming up on the screen because we only have half an hour left. Just 1 hour today, so it's shorter. But there is some good news because during October, of course, this month is a special month because I celebrate my YouTube anniversary. It is my Tube-iversary, my YouTube-iversary. It is the anniversary of the formation of this channel way back in 2006. So at the end of this month, I will be celebrating 17 years on YouTube. I'm probably one of the longest teaching, the longest educating person on YouTube, especially with the English language. So that's nice. So there will be some special things coming up during October. But now we will look at some words connected to having a job, being in employment, jobs and occupations. And there is Mr. Steve. Can you see Steve? So Steve looks like he might be working on a building site or maybe in a warehouse. So he has his special overalls and also his safety hat. And what am I? Well, it looks like I'm working in the kitchen. Ironically, I'm a chef in the kitchen. So jobs and occupations we are talking about today. We might ask a person, and I'm not sure if this is a rude question. Would you think it was a rude question?
Well, it can be. In fact, I was discussing that with some friends yesterday. Ironically, that's a bit of a coincidence. Yes, I think if you said to somebody, "Are you working?" that probably is a rude question because if they're not, you're going to make them feel bad about themselves. Another question is, particularly if it's friends or people you don't know that well. If you go to a party and you meet people often want to find out what you're doing. So the other question they might ask is, "Oh, what's your job? What job do you do?" And that's okay to ask that. But, if that person, if it turns out you've got a better job than them, then you're going to make them feel inferior. So I think sometimes asking people what they do for a living, it depends on, I think, how well you know them.
Yeah.
It's a tricky question to ask because it can make them feel good or it could make them feel bad or it could make you feel bad. If you think you've got a good job and then you ask somebody and they're doing something, higher up than you.
So I would say, and I think I agree with Steve, this might not be a good question to ask someone. So not only do we teach you what to say, sometimes we teach you what not to say. So it's probably not a good way of asking a person if they are working or if they have a job. You might, of course, ask, "What do you do for a living?" which is a little more neutral. So if the person isn't working at the moment, it doesn't matter. What do you do for a living? And they might say, "I'm not working at the moment." It's a little more supple and less intrusive. What do you do for a living?
Yeah, it's the same question really, just worded slightly differently. And it depends. I mean, the thing is, if you want to get to know somebody in a party or something like that, then obviously you probably will end up asking them that at some point. But yeah, it can go the wrong way sometimes. You may think about whether you want to do that or not. You might, but people are very judgmental of each other, aren't they? Human beings, we're always judging each other. Has that person got more money than me? Or have they got better clothes, better car, better job?
Your life is fraught with
I'm not saying me. I'm just saying in general,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan, we tend to judge each other, which is because, hundreds of years ago, everyone was. When my mother grew up, she said everyone was the same. Everyone was poor. When she was growing up, there were a few people who lived, other part of the town who might have had a car or might have been well. But she said when she grew up, everyone was the same. Everybody was relatively poor.
Mm.
But now, of course, there are many, many layers.
Yes.
And we've been sort of programmed to want to keep buying things and get a better car than the neighbour and a bigger house and a new drive and so it's there's a lot of envy out there, and a lot of people are judging everybody on what they do from a materialistic point of view.
Okay. So anyway, if you're at a party or maybe some small talk, quite often a person will ask, "What do you do for a living? What do you?" Or maybe they might ask, what is your job? So this one is a little bit more direct. So what do you do for a living is a little less interrogative. What is your job? Sounds a little bit more direct. So this probably is something you wouldn't say. I don't know what's going on with my throat today.
Perhaps because you were talking a lot yesterday, Mr. Duncan. And of course it could be the weather.
I've got pneumonia. That's what it is.
It's the damp weather.
Anyway, what is your job? Another one. So this one is quite good. Quite often we will ask this question in a very formal situation. So maybe if a person is inquiring, maybe you are changing your job, and maybe the person interviewing you might ask, what is your occupation? Or they might ask, what is your current occupation?
That's often a word put on a form. If you're applying for a job, you might see that it worded in that way. It's quite a formal way.
Very formal.
Of asking what you do for a living.
So that is something we often use when we are asking a person to tell us what their job actually is, normally in a very formal situation. There are different types of work, of course, Steve, when you think about it. There are many different types of work. Some people only work for a few hours each week. They work part-time. Some people work for many hours a week. So at the moment, what would you say the average working hours are each week for a person who is working full-time?
Full-time, between 35 and 40 hours per week. I would say is the average. If you're working more than 40 hours a week, it's probably you're going to be suffering a lot of tiredness, probably. I mean, this is the average. Most people work in the UK between 9 and 5, I would say. There's much more flexible hours of working these days, but most people, the 9 to 5 job, same in America. So that's about, depending on whether you count lunch breaks or not, that's 8 hours a day, isn't it? 40 hours a week. I think it's probably the average with you're not working, of course, all that time because you might get an hour off for lunch. So probably 35 hours. But yeah, I mean, some people are working doctors probably working maybe a lot more than that, maybe 50, 60 hours a week. And if you own your own business, you probably work even more than that because you have to work all the hours to get enough money in to keep your business going.
So around 40 hours is the average if you are lucky enough to work from Monday to Friday. Of course, there are some people who have to work many more days or many more hours than 40. Some people have to work 6 days a week. Some people have to work 7 days a week. My brother-in-law, he works for the railway, and he has a very responsible job, and he does very long shifts over a long period and then has a rest break for maybe 2 or 3 days. So he does a very long period of time where he works and then he has some time off. So the nature of some people's jobs is they might have to work a lot, but then they have a short time off, which is nice.
Yes, and of course people work, some people work during the day, other people work what they call the night shift.
Yeah.
So some people are working during the night. So they might come home at sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and then sleep until midday. And other people, there are lots of nighttime working in factories. I would imagine Amazon do a lot of nighttime work. Yeah, lots of people work night shift, but of course it can have quite an impact on your health in the long term, and also your social life, because you're normally working when everybody else is socialising. But yeah, the graveyard shift, there's a good phrase.
Yes.
The graveyard shift.
Maybe you're involved in security, something like that. So you have to be working all night. Quite a dull job, I understand.
The graveyard shift, what's that, Mr. Duncan? That is that's a late shift normally, isn't it? Or
yes.
That,
I would say it's through the whole night, from maybe 10 until 5 or 6 a.m. So 10 p.m. till 5 or 6 a.m. would be the graveyard shift. Or, of course, from midnight onwards.
a lot of people in supermarkets are stacking the shelves, aren't they, through the night, so that the shelves are full and ready for the people to come in and shop during the day.
I've never done night work, but I have done work where I've had to go to work and arrive at work very early. We might talk about that later on when we talk about terrible jobs.
Shift work, there's another phrase.
What's that?
Shift.
Oh, I see.
SHIFT.
I wonder what you said then.
Shift work. So yeah, that's your hours can be irregular. You can work 3 days during one time, then 3 days at another time. Other people can work like 2 days on, 3 days on, 2 days off.
Yes.
That you can have many different working times, sort of practices. So some people might work sort of 12-hour days, but they do that for 2 or 3 days. Then they have 2 days off, and they do it in that way.
So we have permanent, and temporary. So a permanent job is a job that has no end. I'm sure a lot of people are involved in jobs where their work seems to have no end. There is no future where they won't be doing that particular job. It is a permanent job. Also, maybe there is no contract involved. So there are some jobs that have no contract,
But if
and
you've
you
got
just work permanently.
Yeah, if you've got a permanent position, it means that you unless you do something stupid like punch the boss, then you're not going to be. It means that your employer can't just get rid of you for no reason, at least not in this country. In America, from what we understand, that there is they can just sack you with you've got no comeback at all. Whereas in this country and in many parts of Europe, certainly France, you've got unions protecting you and things like that. So if you've got a permanent position, so you might start a job. For example, I've just started a new job, and for the first 6 months, I'm on probation.
Oh, okay.
Probation, which means if I do something wrong in that 6 months, or if they decide they don't like me for whatever reason, they can legally just say to me, goodbye. We don't think we don't want to carry on with you working here. But after 6 months, you get more rights as an employee then. The law determines what rights you have at various points. So the first 6 months, you've got no rights. And then 6 months to 2 years in the UK, you've got a few more rights. And after 2 years, they've got to give you a proper redundancy payment and that sort of thing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
People want permanent employment. Are there 0 hours employment as well?
Okay.
Where in the UK that's
Anyway,
been quite controversial.
We have a few more to look at. That might be in there, you see.
Ah, right, okay.
Now we have something called seasonal contract. Now this is an interesting one, especially at this time of year, because quite often there are many people who will take on a certain job or a type of job or a type of work just for a short time. Maybe they need some extra money because, of course, October normally means that people will be preparing for the arrival of Christmas, even though I don't want to mention it yet. So a seasonal contract is a contract or a job that you might only do at certain times of the year. Maybe in a shop, maybe they need more staff, maybe the post office, because everyone's sending their Christmas cards and their gifts, so they need more people to sort through the mail.
Fruit pickers.
Fruit pickers.
Farm workers.
During the summer.
When the crops are ripening and you need extra labour to harvest the crop, you'll bring in seasonal workers and just pay them for maybe 2 or 3 months or something.
So I think the most common type of seasonal work in this country is around Christmas, with more people demanding their gifts or sending things through the post. So you often find that seasonal contracts often occur during summer, and normally the 2 months or 3 months leading up to Christmas. Oh, we all have to start somewhere, even when we're working in a job that might be very demanding. We have to start at the bottom. Not everyone wants to do that. Mr. Steve, can you believe once in the past, Mr. Steve started at the bottom and he slowly worked his way up, and then he got a job. Okay. So trainee, a person who is following another person or learning a certain profession or a trade. Trade. See, there is an interesting word. I saw a lot of trade yesterday in Shrewsbury. A lot of tradespeople on the market stall selling things. You see, you thought I meant something else, didn't you? So a person who is a trainee is learning how to do that job. And then, of course, we have the person who is fully qualified, like Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve has so many qualifications. We have a room in the house, and all of Mr. Steve's certificates and diplomas cover all of the walls. The entire room has all of Mr. Steve's awards.
Strange thing to say. I've got nothing like that at all, Mr. Duncan.
He's fully qualified. Me?
Strange thing to say, Mr. Duncan. I don't have any certificates of anywhere.
It's just a joke.
Oh, right, okay. Well, we need to explain that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people think I'm an egotist.
I would imagine most people watching at the moment wouldn't believe that anyway. I think it's safe to say. Fully qualified, a person who has some proof that they know how to do the job that they're doing.
Are you fully qualified? Would apply to jobs like, doctors, solicitors, that sort of thing, where you need a qualification in order to be able to give credibility to the job that you're performing.
They need to know that you can do it.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas if for example, you're stacking shelves in a supermarket, you probably don't need to use the term fully qualified, because you don't need many qualifications for that sort of job.
Yes.
Whereas, you could say, are you a fully qualified solicitor? Because, of course, there are lots of different levels there. So, yeah.
I think so. Skilled and unskilled. So this might be similar to what we just talked about. However, it also goes into other areas. So there are certain jobs that you might describe as skilled, a skilled job. And then we have jobs that are unskilled. And I think you just gave a good example there. If you work in a supermarket and you are putting the cans of beans on the shelf, you might describe that as unskilled work, because you don't really need to learn how to pick up things and put them on a shelf.
Whereas if you're working in engineering, or if you're a plumber, an electrician, you would describe yourself as a skilled worker because you've had to learn your trade, you've had to learn what you do, you've had to go to college, you've had to do some studying, and you're good at it. If you say somebody is skilled at something, normally you're indicating that they're very good at what they do.
That's more informally.
That's more informally, yes. But in this case, if you're a skilled worker, that normally refers to somebody that's had to undergo some training, like an electrician, plumber, carpenter, that sort of thing.
The one thing I find amazing, doctors or anyone who wants to become a medical professional, I think the average is 7 years. 7 years. That's incredible,
What's that for?
Isn't it? A doctor.
Yes. So you wouldn't describe a doctor as a skilled work. You would call that professional. That there is a distinction. So you've got the unskilled.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes as well.
Okay.
No, that's okay. That's all right, Steve. So, but it does amaze me. Can you imagine having, and that's just training. That's just years and years of learning and training and maybe practice. And eventually you will become a doctor or a GP, as we call them here. So I always admire anyone who puts a large part of their life into training for the job that they eventually do professionally. I have to say I do admire that. So a skilled person often has some ability and they can prove that they have it. An unskilled person is doing a job that doesn't really need much expertise. That's putting it mildly.
Well, something they've said since Brexit, of course, is that we've lost a lot of our skilled workers who used to come from the European Union to come and do jobs that we hadn't got enough people qualified in the UK to do, like electricians, builders, carpenters, people like that. And there is a shortage of skilled workers. We know that because if you try to get an electrician or a plumber to come out and see you, it's very, very difficult. And they charge a lot of money because they know that there's not many people around, certainly in the UK, that can do those jobs now.
So moving on, we've had skilled jobs and jobs maybe that you have to train for. And there is another type of job, and this is the type of job I've done in my life. So I'm not criticising any particular type of job, because I can say now that I've done some awful, terrible, literally in some cases stinky jobs in my time, menial jobs. And this, once again, is a term that is often used when we are criticising the type of job or the work that is involved. Menial often means simple or basic, a job that is easy to do, that most people can do, but they would rather not do it. And that is the important part. The important part of describing menial jobs quite often is it is a job that you can do, but most people would rather not do it.
And it's relatively unskilled.
Yes.
It's a bit of a derogatory term, really, isn't it? So you wouldn't want to say to somebody, oh, they do just a menial job. So, yes, it's a simple job. Like, I don't know, probably you would describe a cleaner as a menial job. But
this is what I'm going to talk about now. My work that I've done in my past. When I was a young person, work was not always available for people in this country. During the 1980s, there were many periods of time where we had an incredibly poor economy and there was high unemployment and there were very few jobs around. So I had to do some really awful jobs because I couldn't find work during a certain period of time. So I had no choice. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers, and I was one of those beggars. Not literally, but I had very little choice. So I had to work for a famous shopping outlet, and I had to get up at around about 4:30 in the morning, and I went to this one particular shop, and I had to clean the floors with a big machine. And I used to do that. A cleaner. I used to clean floors and
the toilets.
the toilets. I had to get a big brush and put it down the toilet. And sometimes, let's just say, sometimes people were not very careful when they went for a number 2. And I had the wonderful job. So that gives you an idea of the sort of work that I had to do. I mean, I think that's below menial, to be honest.
Is a garbage collector a menial job, says Demetrios. You would probably put it in that category.
Yes, I think so.
You know, we're not judging here. We're just saying, using the terms that are used to describe these types of jobs.
But I've done lots of crappy jobs. Literally. Literally.
Yes, a menial job is a job that anyone could do, but as Mr. Duncan says, you wouldn't probably choose to do it if you didn't need the money, basically.
And of course, there are some people who do menial jobs, and they do maybe 2 or 3 different jobs. They have to go from one place, then to another place, and they're doing similar work. Now, again, I'm not judging people for doing that because it is necessary. They do it because they have to. They have no choice. Just like when I was sweeping the floors and getting the poop out of the toilet.
Factory workers at the assembly line. Well, some of them might be menial jobs if they're doing simple tasks, but then there would be skilled workers who would be working on assembly lines as well. Maybe people working in car factories, things like that. You might describe some work as certainly more skilled than others, but generally you would probably think if someone is putting their heads on dolls or just doing the same repetitive work all the time.
Well, that's a good word, repetitive. So quite often we think of menial jobs or menial work as being repetitive, something you only do 2 or 3 things and that's it. That's your whole job. So maybe, as you said, maybe you're putting 2 things together and that's all you do for the whole day.
But then you might be doing something repetitive, but in, say, electronics, where it requires some skill to do it. You might be soldering items, or you might be, something that requires some level of training could move into more of the skilled area. What about a postman?
That's an interesting one.
Yes. That's an interesting one.
I'm not sure how that would fit, because I think there is a certain element of skill involved. Now, I know...
you wouldn't call that a menial job.
No, I think there is a certain amount of skill involved, because you do have to deliver letters to the right houses and the right letterboxes. I'm not sure about the postman round here. Sometimes he gets it right, but I think he just drives down the road and he just throws everything out of the window.
It is true that probably most of us could do that, but you would need a certain level of training.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to be able to drive for a start. You've got to have a sense of, you've got to be able to know where all the houses, you've got to have a good memory. There must be some level of training involved in being a postman. So, and at any rate, you would not class that as a menial job.
No.
It's a job that, because a postman is a job that a lot of people actually aspire to do. So,
one of my friends is a postman.
Yeah, so just because of that reason alone, that a menial job, I think, would be classified as a job that you wouldn't do if you didn't have to do it. If you needed the money and you hadn't got any qualifications. Whereas a postman, particularly in this country, a lot of people say, I'd love to be a postman, or I'd love to be a lorry driver if you're a man. So, no, you wouldn't put that under menial. You've got to, yes, anyone could do it, but people want to do that job. A lot of people actually want to do it. They find it quite an attractive thing to do. So for that reason alone, you wouldn't describe it as menial.
A profession I used to do as well, another job I used to have, I used to work in retail in a shop. And strangely enough, even though it was a little bit of a job that had no future, it was what we call a dead-end job, I actually enjoyed it. And one of the reasons was I could always perform and put on a show. So sales is a good job if you like doing that sort of thing, because you can put your own personal flair into doing the particular job. So I did actually enjoy working in sales and also retail, because you can have lots of fun.
But that's not menial, because you need a certain amount of skill to be able to sell to somebody.
Yeah.
So when you first start off, it might be, but
Yes.
yeah, it's generally, as Mr. Duncan said, jobs that you don't really want to do, but you have to do it because you need the money, and it doesn't require very much skill.
So next we have a professional person. So this might be the opposite. I suppose it might be the opposite, and you did kind of mention that earlier with certain types of job. A professional person, quite often a person who has to gain some sort of qualification, would you say?
Yes, a higher qualification. So I would say when you say a professional job, you're talking about doctors, solicitors, architects, a job that probably requires a degree level or above qualification. I would say
Yes.
you would count as a professional job.
I think teaching would go in there as well.
Definitely.
So
Teaching would go in there.
some sort of ability, and quite often you would have to probably gain some sort of level of proficiency to
So
show.
if you're going to put them in order, have you got another one to do, Mr. Duncan?
We have a few more things to do, so
Okay.
we're going to overrun slightly. Of course we are. So the final one, Steve, before we move on to specific trades, which is what we're looking at in a minute. Of course, this is the one that people hate. This is the one that drives people to despair. And I've been through periods of time where I had no job. As I said, the 1980s. Trying to find work in the 1980s, I can still remember the pressure, not only myself, but also many young people. There were many young people unemployed during the early 1980s. And unfortunately, I was one of those young people. And it was a very grim time indeed. So to be unemployed is not good. I know how it feels, and sometimes you have to do jobs that other people don't want to do, and that's exactly what I did. I rolled my sleeves up and I did those jobs because I had no choice, unfortunately.
Yes, you can be unemployed for a period of time. Maybe you're going from one job to another. You might be unemployed for a short period of time, or you could be permanently unemployed. So unemployed can be from maybe a week, a month, 6 months, or it could be that you're never going back to work because you might have an injury or an illness that means that you can't work. And there are in this country and in many parts of the Western world, people who are drawing benefits,
Yes,
and have decided that their benefits are sufficiently large that they can't be bothered to go back to work.
Well, this is something I was about to mention as well. So in this country, we do have a system that is in place that stops people from falling too low on the social ladder, as it were. So we do have benefits that are given to people who are unemployed, and even people who are unemployed for a long period of time, and sometimes years, in fact. But for many people, being unemployed is not the best choice to make, especially if you want to aspire or to better your life. So I think, yes, we do have quite a good social security system here in the UK, but there are people who abuse it.
Yes, that's it. So you want it in a sort of civilized, reasonable society. You want to be looking after people. If for no fault of their own they become unemployed, the business goes bankrupt,
Yes.
and all the workers are laid off. It's not the fault of the workers. It's, you know, well, we don't know what the fault could be, anything, but it can be your own fault that you're made unemployed. You can be very bad at your job. But if you want to be able to protect people and give them some money to pay off their bills for a period of time, give them to allow them to look for another job. And of course we do that in this country,
Yes.
as they do in America and Europe.
So in the United States they have a similar thing, but I think actually here in this country we have a much better benefit system than they do in the United States, and also a better health service as well. Despite what people often say about it, the NHS, the National Health Service in this country, is the envy of many countries around the world. Have you ever been sacked, Steve?
I haven't ever been sacked, no.
To be sacked from your job is to be dismissed. They don't want you anymore for various reasons. I know you're not going to believe this. You will find it hard to believe. Your head will spin when you find out that I was once sacked from a job. It's true. I was called into the office. The boss was there, and he said, "Duncan," he said, "look, it's not working out." See, that's nice, isn't it, when they say that? What they're really saying is you are absolutely rubbish at this job.
What were you doing at the time?
I was working for Tesco in the warehouse. I hated the job so much. I despised being there. The staff were not very friendly. The manager was horrible. And I just hated all of it. I just hated it. I can't tell you how much I hated that job. It is definitely the worst job that I've ever done. Even worse than getting the poop out of the toilet. Isn't that amazing? So I was sacked from that job, the only job that I've ever been sacked from. But I have to say, Mr. Watson, his name, he did a very nice job of sacking me. It was the nicest sacking that I imagine anyone could have. He said, "It's not working out," which I think, isn't that lovely? It's not working out. We're going to let you go. It's still the same result. Basically, they are telling you, "We don't want you working for us anymore. Please go away. Here is your salary, and there is the door. Please leave." So I have been sacked, but here I am today, look, on YouTube, an international...
Well, nobody can sack you from this, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I'm just saying, yes, but what I'm saying is being sacked from a job doesn't necessarily mean that you can't continue with your life in some way. So some people might find being sacked quite embarrassing.
Get the push, that's a synonym.
But these days, yes, that's a good one. These days, being sacked is almost a mark of respect. So some people who are sacked from their jobs, they are often looked for or sought after, especially in things like entertainment or broadcasting. Many people who are sacked, maybe from their radio show, quite often they will be taken in by someone else.
If they're good.
Quite quickly. Well, that's what I mean. So they do something disastrous and they are sacked, and then someone else takes them back. What about politicians? How many politicians over the years have been sacked from their jobs? And they just seem to go into another job very quickly without any questions asked. So being sacked is not necessarily the end of the world. That's what I mean. Demetrios says, "I am about to sack 3 people over the next 3 weeks." Yes, it can't be good. So I don't think it's a pleasant job.
And what field are you working in, Demetrios?
Do I need to worry? Who do I need to inform?
As if we didn't know. Pardon?
Sorry?
Yes, fine. Carry on, Mr. Duncan. Yes, it can't be very nice to. Well, I used to have a job, Mr. Duncan. I was a manager in sales manager,
Oh, I see.
and many years ago, and I had a number of representatives working under me, so to speak. That's a phrase you use, and I was asked by my boss to. That I had to, because they were cutting back costs, I had to get rid of, as he described it, or I had to sack 2 employees. And, I'd got, I think, 8 representatives that I was responsible for, working in different parts of the country. And I found this very difficult to do. In fact, I refused to do it, and I was demoted. Because I said I'm not going to get rid of people who were very good workers. And in the end, he said, well, if you won't do it, I will. And then 2 weeks later, I got demoted back to being a representative.
Yes. So Steve's level in the company was reduced because he said, I'm not going to sack these lovely people.
I did sack 1, actually.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything nicer than being sacked by Mr. Steve. It must be lovely.
That's why I've never been a manager ever again, because doing those tasks for me is too stressful. But the company I was working for at the time, you can't do this anymore because people are protected. But he basically said, oh, you've got to catch them out doing something and then we can sack them.
Yeah.
So he said, for example, I want you to sit outside their house and see what time they leave. And if they haven't left their house by 8:30, we'll sack them. So he got me to do that. It was horrible. And I had to, meet up with these people. In the end, one of them said, are you basically saying, that no matter what I do, they want to get rid of me, and I had to say, well, yes, they do. So he did the decent thing and just resigned.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's. I've got to move on, Steve. I've got to move on. We've got a lot of things still to look at.
Yes, I didn't like doing it.
But
I left that company soon afterwards.
Okay, sacking someone.
I got a new job. They were horrible. Yeah.
Okay, sacking someone is an unpleasant thing to do, and being sacked, being told to go, and that's happened to me. It's not nice at the time. Can I say thank you very much to Ariel Castilla, who is sent a very happy and very pleasant super chat sticker. Thank you very much, Ariel. We do appreciate the donations because I don't charge anything for this. 17 years, for the past 17 years, I have never charged anyone for any.
I think you should.
No, I shouldn't.
And then I could stop working, Mr. Duncan.
No, I don't think I would be that wealthy, to be honest. So thank you, Ariel, for your lovely super chat. Isn't that nice? Thank you very much. It's not very nice losing your job. I think it is. In fact, I think it's horrible, to be honest. Here are some trades. Would you like to see some trades?
Go on, then.
Here are some jobs, types of jobs. They might be seen as being trades. So a person who does that job. By the way, I've been asked, why are the Conservatives, the Conservative Party, called the Tories? That was their original name. The Tories is actually the oldest political party in this country. They were the original political movement and they were called the Tories. So that is actually their original name. So that's the reason why modern day conservatism originated with the Tory party. And they were the people who wanted reforms in a conservative way. And they are the oldest political group in this country. So I hope that answers your question. Here we go then. Oh, there was a song, wasn't there? If I was a carpenter, I'd carpent in the morning, I would carpent in the evening.
Never heard of that song, Mr. Duncan. Is it by the Carpenters?
If I had a hammer I would hammer in the morning.
Oh, right, yeah.
All over the world. Carpenter or joiner, what do they work with normally?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Wood.
Yes. So often the trade concerns cutting wood, measuring wood, slicing wood, or maybe going into the middle of a picturesque place and cutting down a tree.
Ariel says, I am the guy you randomly met in Paris.
Yes. Now I remember, of course. I'm sorry about that.
Near the Louvre.
Near the Louvre.
With your lovely wife.
And we thought that you were coming to the rendezvous, but you weren't. You just happened to be in Paris at the same time as us.
That was an amazing moment.
What a strange coincidence, meeting each other.
We were walking to meet Beatrice. And we were going to meet Beatrice, one of our gang, the Paris gang. And on the way there, we were stopped by somebody.
Well, I heard someone shout, Mr. Duncan. They said, Mr. Duncan. And I thought, oh, they must be meeting us on the Paris rendezvous. But it was just a coincidence. We were in Paris at the same time as Ariel.
And Ariel is from Argentina. We know that because I specifically remember saying that we were just about to meet somebody from Argentina, which was, yeah. So, yeah, Beatrice. Well, wonderful to see you here. And we know you're having all sorts of problems with your currency in Argentina at the moment, so we very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Duncan.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you.
And
I mean that.
Say hi to your wife if she's watching. And, yeah, hopefully we'll bump into you again one day.
Demetros says, Jesus. Oh, well, there's more. Jesus was a carpenter, hence he... Oh, dear. Demetrios. That's not very nice.
I don't know. Tomek does. I mean, Demetrios does come out with some comments sometimes.
Yes. So a carpenter or joiner works with wood. Sometimes I do as well. Plumber. Oh, here's an interesting job, Steve.
Yes.
Plumber. We all need a plumber. You never see a plumber poor because they charge so much money. We used to have a guy that came to us when we lived in Wolverhampton, and he used to charge ridiculous amounts of money for the smallest jobs. Do you remember? He used to come in and repair the tap and stop it from dripping. And he would charge some stupid amount of money. I can't remember his name now, but...
Yes, well, these are skilled jobs, plumbers, electricians, that there's a shortage of.
Yes.
And thus they can charge a lot of money to do it. Supply and demand. It's a difficult job being a plumber. Plumbers get bad knees.
Yes.
Because they're always on their knees in cramped places.
Yes.
And I know one or two plumbers that have had to give up work because they've got bad knee damage.
So plumbers normally work with pipes. So it's not necessarily connected to water, because plumbers, of course, can also connect gas as well, gas pipes. So it's not just about water. And did you know... Wait there, Steve. Yes, yeah. I know, but...
You would normally, yeah.
Yes, I'm just... The word plumber has nothing to do with pipes. Did you know that? In fact, it originates from a Latin word that means to have a flow of water from a roof. So it has nothing to do. So it's just the control of water. So a plumber is magically controlling the motion of water. So it has nothing to do with pipes. It might have something connected with water or, of course, gas. What were you going to say, Steve?
Nothing. No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were going to say a plumber doesn't work with gas.
Well, you would probably say a gas engineer.
That's it, yes.
Or something like that, yes. I mean, they're connecting pipes. But, yeah, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. What? business.
So in this country, if you want to train to be a plumber, electrician, or something along those lines, you if you want to do it, of course, it's a job that you'd need to want to do. I wouldn't want to be a plumber. I wouldn't want to be an electrician, but some people do. See, I think it was Marcia earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Marcia touched on a very good point earlier on about occupations and the fact that no job should be seen as inferior to another job.
No, I agree.
And let's make one thing clear: we're not judging the job. We're just talking about how jobs are classified. But if we didn't have people that could do all the jobs that we need, society wouldn't exist. So if you didn't have people doing menial jobs, then collecting the rubbish, cleaning toilets, then we just couldn't carry on. So every job is important. And I've often found it strange that there's always somebody available to do a particular job. There's always, whatever job there is always somebody that's willing to do it
Not
wants to do it.
Not necessarily by choice, by the way.
Yes.
So you might not want to clean toilets every day, but you might have no choice because maybe there are very few jobs around. Here's another job.
Yes, we don't pronounce the B in plumber. You're right, plumber. It's as if it's a silent B.
Yes.
That's a very good point, Alcare. Yeah. So yes, you don't say plumber, you say plumber. Just something you've got to know.
And here's another one. So here's a generic term. This is a general term that we use for a person who is involved maybe in construction. They work in the construction field, or maybe their skill. They have many different skills. Quite often, a person who is in the building trade might have more than one skill. Isn't that strange?
Yes.
So they might not only just do one type of job. They might be knowledgeable about different things because they might go somewhere and they have to carry out more than one task. So they have to know more than just one thing. Maybe they have to put bricks on top of each other to build a house. Maybe they have to put in a new door frame, or maybe they have to know how to put the tiles or shingles on a roof.
See, building work, if you say you're a builder, it's looked down upon. It's certainly in this country. If you say you're a builder, well, certainly when I grew up, I don't know whether it is in other countries, it's not seen.
I think people admire builders nowadays.
Well, I think they do now. I'm just saying that,
Yes.
the perception, if you say you're a builder, you're seen as a sort of a labourer. There's another classification of job, a labourer.
That tends to be more unskilled, though.
Yes, a labourer is somebody that does lots of manual work. Could work in a factory. A builder could be described as manual work, but of course it's very skilled. I mean, I have not a clue about building. I admire builders, but when I was growing up, if you were a builder, it was seen as almost not a particularly good thing to be in. But builders can charge a fortune for what they do. It's an incredibly skilled job.
You never see a poor builder.
No.
Plumbers, carpenters, or a general builder, a person who repairs roofs. Perhaps we have someone living here locally who's fixed our roof a couple of times when the water was coming through. So yes, you never see a poor tradesman, especially in the building trade. They're never poor because they charge a lot for their work.
Yeah, it's one of those subjects that I think a lot of people, you've got to have your mind has got to work in a certain way to be a builder. You've got to be able to visualise something that's going to be built. I think it takes a very special set of skills to be able to do that. And I wish I could do it. Construction. See, I haven't got a clue about that. It's a mystery to me. Building, construction. Wouldn't know where to start.
Anyway, next one. Oh, this is the one I mentioned earlier. This might be seen as a job that is unskilled or an area that doesn't need many qualifications. However, working in retail is one of the hardest jobs that you can do, because you have to sell, you have to maintain the shop, you have to work maybe in the stock room, you have to handle the customers. That's the hardest part. I used to have my life threatened by people in the shop that I used to work in. So this is when I worked in retail, and customers would come in and they would complain, or they would try to get their money back on something that they had used and worn out, and they still wanted their money back. And then, of course, we would refuse, and they would then start to threaten us. So it was quite often I would have my life threatened by people because I wouldn't give them a refund. But I was in my legal rights to do that, because they were just abusing the refund system.
Palmyra says, what about chimney workers? What do we call them? We call chimney sweeps. We call them a chimney sweep.
You'll be pleased to hear, by the way, that we don't send children up the chimneys anymore. We used to, but then our chimneys got very small, and now you can't fit a child up there, unfortunately.
Yes, it is a rare occupation these days, because, but it's increasing again now in the UK, because so everybody stopped having coal fires and wood fires in their houses from the 1960s onwards, and they started fitting central heating. Gas boilers typically would be the common way of heating a house. But of course now, because everyone's fitting log burners into their houses, because it's like a fashion statement to have a log burner in your house.
We have one.
We've got one. But our house originally had a chimney, a proper chimney, so we can put one in. But a lot of houses are fitting them where there was never originally a chimney in the house, and it's really just a fashion statement, really.
Yes. Anyway,
the point I'm making is that Palmyra, there is a shortage of chimney sweeps now, because there have been so many people fitting log burners, and they need to have them swept. So that's something you can do in the UK and earn some money, I'm sure.
Yes. So there aren't many, but it might be seen also as an unusual job, which maybe we could talk about that for a moment.
It's like a very old-fashioned job, isn't it?
Yes, I'm moving on now.
Yes.
We've got to move on because we're about to go. Unusual jobs. And there are many professions, Steve, that are odd, but people have to do it. One of them, I'm sorry to mention this, a person who has to handle dead people. Of all the jobs, and you said earlier, Steve, there are certain jobs you can't believe that they want to do that job. And that's the one that always makes me go, why? Why would you want to do that job? You woke up one morning and you thought, you know what? I would like to spend all of my working hours handling and touching dead people.
But I'm sure that's not the motivation.
No, I'm joking there a bit.
Yes. An undertaker, as we call it here in the UK, an undertaker,
or funeral director.
A funeral director.
So they have that's a type of job that is maybe unusual because it's an unusual situation that you are constantly in. I suppose another one. I'm trying to think of another unusual job.
Well, chimney sweep is quite unusual these days as well.
But not really to the point of it being something you really wouldn't want to do. Another one is a person who stuffs animals, because some people like to preserve their animals. Apparently a lot of people now, this is something becoming popular, Steve, people whose dog has died, they're actually having them stuffed. So it looks as if they're still alive, but they're not alive. They're just stuffed. And that particular profession is called taxidermy. So a taxidermist is a person who stuffs dead things. It sounds like something else, I know, but it isn't. Trust me. So that's an unusual job, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yes. So you take dead animals and you put things inside them and stuff them and you preserve them, and then you give it back to the person, and their dog is always going to be sitting in front of the fireplace forever. I wonder if you can stuff a human being.
I don't think you can.
No. You can preserve a human like Chairman Mao. So Chairman Mao is preserved in a big fish tank. I'm not joking either. And every couple of years they have to take him out and clean him and then put him back in. And I'm not joking about any of that, because that came straight from someone who lived or lives in China. So there.
Right.
What?
Are we finished?
Yeah. Another unusual job, by the way, is being here on YouTube.
I think this is an unusual job.
I think this is a very unusual job.
Is it even a job?
I'm not sure if it's is it a job? Is this a job? Well, I suppose it is a job if you are well paid, but of course I'm not well paid, so I'm not sure. It's more of I would describe this sometimes as a vocation. Vocation. So that is a type of job, but quite often a job that you enjoy doing. So almost your hobby, something you enjoy doing as a hobby, becomes your job. So we say it is a vocation.
Often teaching or being a nurse is seen as a vocation. You're doing the job from sort of altruistic ways, altruistic. You're
Yes,
doing it for
as a
altruistic
form
purposes.
of a type of generosity.
Francesca, psychiatrist for dogs. Yes, that would be an unusual job.
Is that real though?
I think that is a real job.
You have psychologists who treat dogs.
That is an actual occupation.
Now
yes.
I've heard of the dog whisperer. He was a famous guy that was on TV for many years. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe the dogs got annoyed and carried him away and buried him like a bone. But yes, there are psychologists for humans, but I didn't know there were psychologists for domestic pets.
Yeah, apparently.
Interesting. Anyway, on that note, I think, Steve, we will leave it there. We've been on for 1.5 hours. I'm back with you. Well, I will be with you, of course, next Sunday with Steve as we continue on our journey through October. Can I say thank you once again to... I still can't quite believe I've had such a wonderful donation from Ariel. Isn't that lovely?
Thank you very much.
That's just absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for your lovely donation. I do appreciate that very much. And we will see you next Sunday as we make our way through this special month. October is a special month. Lots of unusual, interesting things coming up during this month. That's all I'm saying. So don't forget to listen out and look out, and hopefully you will get the notifications from YouTube, although it is quite unlikely, to be honest. See you very soon. Thanks, Steve. I never say thank you to Steve. I never do. But today I'm going to say thank you, Mr. Steve, for being here, for sharing your wisdom with the world.
Well, it's lovely to be here. I've enjoyed it, Mr. Duncan, and I look forward to seeing you all hopefully again next week.
Catch you later, and of course, until the next time we meet here, whatever your occupation is, whether you are working, whether you are not working, whether you enjoy your job, or whether you've just been sacked. See you very soon. Take care, and of course, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. You know what's coming next. Here it comes, Mr. Steve. Are you ready?
Yes.
There is smoke outside the window. I think it's one of our neighbours with their log burning.
That's it, you see. They're all obsessed with burning wood around here.
Yes. See you soon. And of course, until the next time we meet... Where's your ring?
I haven't got it on, Mr. Duncan.
Mr. Steve is not wearing his ring. I can't believe it.
Ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta for now.